the end of the year, a time to look forward into the future of what we're gonna get. I mean, next year is gonna be great for gaming. We're gonna get all sorts of games that we could play for an hour before we get bored. However, the new year isn't quite here yet, which means that it's time for us to look back on the games that we played this year and decide, wow, I really wasted my time playing Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time for an 8th time, huh? Going back and playing old games is all great, but we also got some new games last year. So why don't we take a look at those games and decide what was the best game of the year? Screw it! Let's go back for the last 6 years and decide what the best game for the year was for each of those years. I got time.
Game of the Year is a buzzword many publications like to throw around near this time every year. The title doesn't quite hold the same prestige as something like the Grammys or the Oscars, but that doesn't stop anyone from looking back on the past year and thinking about all the games they played that year to decide which one was the best game in their opinion. I'm personally not great at this. I just played Jedi Fallen Order for the first time earlier this year, so I'll get back to my opinions on Skyrim when The Elder Scrolls 6 finally gets another trailer.
So never.
I don't know, I just don't really find it all that necessary to play new games the moment they release. Unless it's something I've been looking forward to for some time, I generally say, I'll pick it up later, and never do. But despite this, I still want to go back through the generations and take a look at some of the best games released over the last 6 years so I can definitively decide what my favorite game for each year was. Why?
Because it's fun.
Kicking things off in 2022. Our nominees for this year are God of War Ragnarok, Elden Ring, A Plague Tale Requiem, Stray, Horizon Forbidden West, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I have played none of these. I know the most about Stray because I decided to watch a Let's Play of the game earlier this year. It's adorable, but it only being about 3 hours long makes it very hard to justify it as Game of the Year. It's no doubt good, but the other games just have so much more to them. I honestly completely forgot that Horizon came out this year, and I didn't even know A Plague Tale came out, so I wouldn't really say those are Game of the Year either. Xenoblade getting nominated is crazy, but there's no possible way it could ever win, especially when it's up against the final two nominees. The undisputed titans of the Game of the Year nominees for 2022 are definitely God of War Ragnarok and Elden Ring. As I said before, I've not played either yet, so I can't give my real opinions on them, but from what I hear, these games are both phenomenal and both deserve the title of Game of the Year. My pick would probably go to Elden Ring since God of War has already won Game of the Year in the past, but who knows? The Game Awards will probably just choose to be boring, as always. As of me writing this script, the Game Awards have yet to happen. However, by the time this video is out, they will be over with, so let's see if my predictions are correct. 2021 was a year in gaming for sure. It definitely did happen, and games definitely did release in 2021, but that's really about it. There wasn't very many games that released in 2021 that were, amazing. The nominees were Resident Evil Village, Deathloop, It Takes Two, Psychonauts 2, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, and Metroid Dread. Resident Evil games always get nominated, but say it with me.
Resident Evil games never win Game of the Year.
So, this game was screwed from the start. Deathloop feels like it's only here because they needed to have at least 6 games in the running, so it also has no shot at winning either. It Takes Two is the indie pick for the year, so there's no possible way it could ever win. What? Yeah, somehow It Takes Two won Game of the Year. I mean, it's fine. It's a great game, but Game of the Year? Really? I think the Game Awards are just allergic to the idea of giving the award to something that looks like it could be a Saturday morning cartoon. I haven't played Psychonauts 2, but believe me, it looks great. I have, however, played Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart and Metroid Dread, so here's what I think about both of those games. Metroid Dread should have won Game of the Year. The fact that the game even exists in and of itself is a miracle, but it being this good is proof that we do in fact live in the best timeline for humanity. That being said, my personal Game of the Year is probably Ratchet & Clank. This is a game I wish I could have played as a child. I loved every minute of this game from start to finish. The writing was amazing, the gameplay was just so clean, the game itself was just beautiful. This is a game that feels like it was simply made to be a fun game, and sometimes that's all you really need for it to be your favorite for the year.
It also doesn't hurt when the game slips you a 10.
2020 was an amazing year for gaming, with the Game of the Year nominees being Final Fantasy VII Remake, Doom Eternal, Animal Crossing New Horizons, Hades, Ghost of Tsushima, and The Last of Us Part 2. The only game here I don't really know anything about is Ghost of Tsushima, but I either played or know a good deal about all the other games here to be able to give some actual opinions on the nominees for once. Hades is the indie pick, meaning it never had any shot at winning, and Final Fantasy VII Remake, as good as it is, still has that pesky word remake in the title, which makes it really hard to justify this being Game of the Year for 2020. The winner was, of course, The Last of Us Part 2, because game journalists see the words The Last of Us and instantly start screaming with excitement. I personally didn't like the game, but if you did, that's fair. You're allowed to have stupid opinions all you want. Despite that, however, I think that this game doesn't deserve Game of the Year simply because it was so controversial among fans of The Last of Us and just gamers alike. The original Last of Us is a masterpiece, but Part 2 did some things with the story that a lot of people, myself included, consider to be poor choices. So it doesn't matter that 50% of the people who played the game think it's a masterpiece. The other 50% didn't. So I feel like we should look for a game that nearly 100% of people agree is great. With that in mind, I present to you my personal Game of the Year for 2020, Animal Crossing New Horizons. Not only did I love this game to death upon its release, but I think it fits that criteria of nearly every person on the planet just collectively going, yes, we needed this, upon the game's release. The timing of when this game came out was so perfect, and it got so many people through the single most difficult part of that whole alien invasion or whatever happened that year. However, if you aren't okay with this being Game of the Year,
because the cowards all are,
then let's take a look at Doom Eternal. This game didn't win a single award at the Game Awards, and that is a crime. Similarly to Ratchet & Clank, this game was just flat out fun from start to finish, and the timing of its release was, again, perfect for that robot uprising or what have you that happened. The game wasn't nearly as long as Animal Crossing, but with how fun it was, I'm perfectly okay with prying the Game of the Year award away from The Last of Us Part 2 and giving it to one of these amazing games.
If I had to pick, I'd probably give the Game of the Year award to Animal Crossing, just because I feel like it's the better game all around. But honestly, I'm pretty good with splitting the Game of the Year award between these two games. I mean, they both came out on the same day. It was destiny.
2019 is a year where take any of the games that released, and I probably have not played it. The winner was Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, and the other nominees were Death Stranding, Resident Evil 2, Control, The Outer Worlds, and Whoa, what's Super Smash Bros. Ultimate doing here? Yeah, this game released a little too late in 2018 to be in the running for Game of the Year for that year, so they gave it to 2019. I mean, it's fine, Smash Ultimate is great and had no shot at winning in 2018, but still, it just feels weird. Control and The Outer Worlds, while good games, didn't really leave much of an impact beyond being good games, so they probably shouldn't have won. Resident Evil 2 is great from what I heard, but say it with me.
Resident Evil games never win Game of the Year.
That leaves us with Sekiro and Death Stranding. I didn't play Sekiro, but I did try to play Death Stranding. Keyword try. This game is so boring. I know it gets good at some point, but 10 hours in is a little ridiculous. I want to love this game, but man, that start is just way too long. Honestly, I'm fine with giving the award to Sekiro, if only because I have no idea what else to give it to. 2018, also known as the reason I don't want God of War Ragnarok to win Game of the Year in 2022. General nominees this year were Monster Hunter World, Marvel's Spider-Man, Celeste, Red Dead Redemption 2, God of War, and Assassin's Creed Odyssey. That's dumb. I'm sure Assassin's Creed Odyssey is a fine game, but dude, it's an Assassin's Creed game. These games are some of the biggest cash grabs in all of gaming, so the mere thought of this being Game of the Year is kind of laughable. Celeste was the indie pick for the year, so of course it stood no chance, which blows, because if any indie game deserved to win, it's this gem. Monster Hunter World and Marvel's Spider-Man are both great games, but both lack the sense of grandeur the other two nominees had. Even if Marvel's Spider-Man is probably my personal pick for Game of the Year. The battle was against God of War and Red Dead Redemption 2. Neither of which are games I've played, but I know enough about them to be able to compare them.
Hey, I may never have had a dragon fruit, but I know for sure it's gotta be better than Starfruit. I haven't had that either.
From what I hear, God of War is more consistently good throughout, whereas Red Dead 2 has higher highs than God of War, but lower lows. Personally, I think that makes God of War the obvious pick for the same reason as why I don't think The Last of Us Part 2 deserved to win. I have been furious about that victory for the last 2 years. While a lot of people think Red Dead 2 is in fact a good game, there's enough people that think it sucked for me to say that God of War probably should get the award. A game which I have yet to find someone who actually disliked. 2017 Breath of the Wild. I mean, look at me. I'm only a few years away from walking into a tattoo shop with tan cargo shorts and a green t-shirt and asking for a Triforce symbol on my wrist.
That was a joke, Grandma.
The nominees for this year were The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey, Persona 5, Horizon Zero Dawn, and Players Unknown Battlegrounds. I've never played a game of PUBG before in my life, but there is no possible way that this game can stand toe-to-toe with games like Horizon Zero Dawn, much less Breath of the Wild. Horizon Zero Dawn, while I haven't played it, is a game that most people say is pretty good, but I've never heard anyone who thinks it's the best thing to come out of the PlayStation 4, so honestly, I don't think it really has a chance at being Game of the Year. Super Mario Odyssey is amazing, and so is Persona 5, but dude, Breath of the Wild is just more than amazing. Any one of these games, except for PUBG, could have won Game of the Year for just about any other year, but when you're up against Breath of the Wild, it's no contest.
Well, we could keep going on this trip down memory lane, but I feel like someone else has already done a video similar to this, and I want to stop now just in case people start accusing me of copying. Plus, I gotta start watching the Game Awards. I mean, I'm gonna give up at 9:30 anyway once I conclude that Sony and Nintendo aren't showing anything, so better get to watching.